بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه ومن سن بسنته واهتدى بهديه اليوم الدين. Dear brothers and sisters, viewers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And Eid Mubarak, kul aam tu khair. May Allah accept from us and from you the good deeds throughout this month and the months to come, inshallah ta'ala. You're here with me on the second session of this program, Purification is Half of Iman, where we are talking about the different rules and regulations relating to purification, relating to tahara and aspects of it. Because as the Prophet ﷺ, and this actual quote that we have here is actually the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. So purification is half of Iman. So when you establish purification, when you understand what tahara is about, then you are on your way to achieving Iman. And that's why it's so important. And our deen, Islam, has given so much emphasis on the importance of hygiene, the importance of cleanliness, the importance of purification, so that we can really examine and really come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through using the purification. Last week we spoke about the importance of water in purification, and today we're just going to go a little bit more deep, inshallah, and look at the aspect of wudu, which is in fact one of those acts which is really an important act in Islam, because it is the foundation for doing salah, for other acts, and even it's a protection, it's a shield. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ in one hadith said, لا يحافظ عليها إلا مؤمن. The one who guards the wudu, the one who keeps the wudu, is someone who has Iman. Again, because fulfilling this aspect, which is purification, is half of Iman. And one thing that we're going to talk about today, and again the scholars have mentioned, referring back to the Prophet ﷺ, is the aspect of keeping the oral hygiene, the mouth clean. The mouth, which is obviously the input, the source, the cavity with which all the food comes in, the talking comes in, the breathing happens through there as well. It's the access to the stomach, everything is happening there. So by default, it's one of those places which gets accumulated by obviously food and the remnants of food, things related to bacteria, and again, bacteria, as we know, can produce bad smells. It's related to the nose, the stomach, all these aspects are there. So that's why Islam taught us very importance to keep good oral hygiene. And the Prophet ﷺ emphasized importance of brushing the teeth. Brushing the teeth. Brushing the teeth in Islam is called siwak. And a lot of people get confused, because when they hear the word siwak in the hadith or in the mentioning of the scholars, and they think that it's the wooden stick. No, siwak doesn't mean wooden stick. Siwak actually means brushing the teeth or toothbrushing. So the act of toothbrushing and whatever you brush your teeth with, as we will speak about in a moment, you will get the essence of the toothbrushing. So that's why it's important to understand when Allah through the Prophet ﷺ mentions and emphasizes the importance of siwak, toothbrushing, it's to keep that mouth clean. And so the Prophet ﷺ, because he emphasized it so much, he even said in one hadith, he said, أكثرت عليكم في السواك. You know, I've spoke to you so much in siwak. And he said that, I've used siwak so much that I was afraid that I might actually make my teeth loose, because, I'm really putting emphasis on the siwak. But as we know, that, if you brush your teeth properly and adequately, you will not make your teeth loose. In fact, you will allow them to become stronger, because keeping the teeth clean means that the bacteria is reduced in the mouth, and that will reduce gum disease and things like that. So the Prophet ﷺ emphasized siwak, and that's why the ulama said it is one of those things that the Muslims should try and keep with as much as possible, because it is an act which is favorable. It's something that pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It keeps the mouth pure, and also because it's your interaction. One of the things that some of our those who specialize in interaction with people, they say when you meet somebody, you tend to scan the eyes first of all, and then you scan the mouth. So you look at the eyes, you look at the teeth. That's the kind of image that you're interacting with people. You look at people's eye, and that's where you're getting that image of that individual and that person. So the Prophet ﷺ, he emphasized this importance, because it is also your presentation to people. It's how you deal with people. It's how you have the actual, let's say the interaction, how people look at you. and how people will smell your mouth. So that's why there's that emphasis on siwak. And the ulama said that the siwak is emphasized in a number of ways. Emphasized with wudu. The Prophet ﷺ said, لولا أن أشق على أمتي لأمرتهم بالسواك عند كل وضوء. Had I not wanted to make it difficult for my ummah, for my nation, I would have ordered them to do siwak with every wudu. And in another hadith, لأمرتهم بالسواك قبل كل صلاة. Before every salah, I would have ordered them to do siwak. So automatically, we have to know that wudu, whenever you do wudu, it's recommended to brush your teeth. Really brush your teeth, clean the teeth. And like we said, it could be with a toothbrush or it could be with other instruments. When you do salah, again, emphasize to brush your teeth. And because he said قبل كل صلاة, with every salah, our ulama said that even if you are repeating the salah, you say you're praying tarawih and you're praying 20 rak'ah tarawih. So every time you're going to start your 2 rak'ah tarawih, you do a little quick siwak, because the Prophet said عند كل salah, with every salah. And what follows on from that, things like reciting the Quran. Again, it's an act of ibadah, and it's good to have a clean mouth for that. Whether you're going to come and read hadith, because again, hadith is a sacred knowledge, or even any type of knowledge and learning. It's a form of with the right intention, you're coming closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, siwak is recommended when you before you go to bed, which is again the act of the Prophet ﷺ. And then when you wake up, one of the first things the Prophet ﷺ would do is siwak as well. Brush your teeth, because we know that when you go to sleep with the mouth being closed for such a time, again the odor of the mouth can increase. So with waking up, with going to sleep, after meals as well, to get rid of all the food that may have actually got stuck between the teeth, again siwak is recommended. When the Prophet ﷺ used to enter the house, Aisha radiallahu anha, she was asked, what was the first thing the Prophet used to do when he entered the house? She said he used to do siwak. Again, cleaning his teeth, because it's not just for the people, also for his house. He wants to have a fresh smell even for the people of his house, courtesy to the people of his house and his family as well. So you can see that the siwak is something that is recommended in different practices, and more so emphasized when you are meeting people, when you are in the company of people, like Salatul Jumu'ah, Eid, the congregation, when you're at Hajj, and you're continuously meeting. These are all recommended times to be coming closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to have a fresh smell, so that you people will not detect any bad odor from you in this regards. And like I said before, siwak is, any toothbrush will do it, but they said the best kind of stick is, first of all, to use something called al-arak, which is the oud al-arak, which is a special type of stick. And that arak is something that is recommended because that was the action of the Prophet ﷺ. They said that the stick or the tree that's favored after that is the date tree. Again, the sticks that come from there, again the practice of the Prophet ﷺ, because Medina and the Arabian land generally had those date sticks, so it was something of the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, followed by the tree of the olive tree, because Allah mentioned that this tree is shajaratan mubarakah, it's a blessed tree. So these, and then any other type of implements, other types of implements. And because time is short, really, we don't have time to go over these things, but they, modern science has even discovered that this oud al-arak, this arak stick, which was used by the Prophet ﷺ and recommended, is actually not only effective in manually cleaning the plaque, but also has chemicals which freshen the mouth and also kill the bacteria as well. So this is the kind of act that the Prophet ﷺ recommended. We have to try and do that as much as possible. And while we're talking about hygiene, we also mentioned the other aspects of hygiene, which was also emphasized by Islam. So for the man, it is, trimming the moustache so that his upper lip is showing, again, for hygiene, so the food is not getting mixing with the smack, and also to be different, as the Prophet ﷺ said, to be different from the disbelievers. Cut your moustache and allow your beard to grow, and honoring the beard, whether it's with oil or with combing. Also, part of the sunnah is to trim the nails, the fingernails. Again, to do that regularly and as needed, but try to avoid leaving the nails growing more than 40 days. And the ulama have a very nice understanding where they say that, obviously when you start the nails, to start with the most honorable finger, which is the index finger on the right hand, because it's the finger that points with the shahada. So starting with there and then working through the right hand almost in like a circle. So starting there and then going round and then finishing with the thumb. And for the feet, just starting with the right toe, the small right toe, and then just working all the way to the left, because Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he used to love with regards to his affairs, starting with the right first. كان يحب التيمم, he also like right things with regards most of his acts. Obviously, other aspects of cleanliness which Islam teaches us is to pluck the armpits, remove the hair from underneath the arm by plucking it, because that is actually gets the hair out from the root. And again, it's better for personal hygiene, and also shaving the hair of the private parts is also part of the acts that Islam teaches us. Again, all of this is part of hygiene which Islam emphasized as well. I would just like to remind you once again that this show, inshallah, after the break, we will get a chance to have any questions. Anybody got any questions, they can phone in and ask questions relating to this topic, the topic of purification. The telephone number should be on your screen, but I'll just say it again, it's 0203 397 2095. So, you can give us a call after the break if you would like to ask any questions. Now that we've spoken about this, we want to speak very quickly about wudu. What makes wudu? What are the elements of wudu? And the scholars have differed about it, but essentially they agree on the basics. And when we talk about the elements of wudu, we have to go back to a verse in the Quran, because Allah mentions wudu in a verse in the Quran, which is in Surah Al-Ma'idah, when He said, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِذَا قُمْتُمْ إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ فَاغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ وَأَيْدِيَكُمْ إِلَى الْمَرَافِقِ وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ وَأَرْجُلَكُمْ إِلَى الْكَعْبَيْنِ. This is the verse that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about wudu. O you who believe, when you get up, or if you want to get up to salah, wash your faces and your arms up to the elbows, and wipe off your heads and your feet up to the ankles. Okay, so this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran. And automatically from this verse, we can see that there are 6 pillars of wudu. 6 pillars which we have to establish for our wudu to be correct. First of all is intention. We must intend to make wudu, because wudu is an act of ibadah. And as the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, actions are by intention. So if you intend, when you want to make wudu, you have to have the intention of making wudu. You are intending to purify yourself from the ritual impurity, al-hadath al-asghar. So when you go there, you start to do you want to do the wudu, you must be thinking inside you that, look, I'm doing wudu. It's not just, like I'm just having a wash or whatever. And that's why if somebody came in and just pushed you into a swimming pool, or pushed you into the sea and you got wet all over, if you didn't have the intention of making wudu while you've been dipped in, you don't have wudu, because everybody gets pushed in the sea, whether it could be anybody, so it doesn't have to be it's not specific for ibadah. So that's why he said we have to have the intention for making the wudu, and the intention must be with the first actual, the pillar of actual action, which is washing the face. So that intention must be there when we wash the face. So that's the second pillar. Second pillar is washing the face, and the face, as we know here, really it starts from the actual hairline. So we know where that face starts, all the way down to the side of the ears here, and then all the way down to the big point of the chin there, which is basically where the hair, the face meets there, and that is where the extension of the neck. So it's up to here, up to the chin, all the way around here, and up there. And it includes all the hair that falls into this area. So whether it's the moustache, for men, the eyebrows, eyelashes, the hair that comes here on the side of the head. Some people have hair on their forehead. So again, that needs to be washed. So it includes all this and has to be washed. So it's not just a question of wiping. You have to make sure, and you have to make sure you get underneath all the areas. And when we're talking about the face, if you close your lips, this part that is apparent, that's also part of the face. So that also needs to be washed as well. Now, if you have a beard or very thick beard, then you have to, you know, because Islam is easy, making things easy, it's not saying you have to actually get the water right into the bottom, but at least it must be wetted from the outside. This is the pillar. Remember, these things are things that you must do. So intention, washing the face. Secondly, washing the arms all the way up to and including the elbows. So it's not up to here. It's not up to here. Some people rush their wudu and they don't wash their elbows. You have to wash all the elbows. And the water must reach all the arms, okay? And there must be nothing there stopping the water reaching. Sometimes some people may be doing painting and they have paint. You have to remove that. If you're a woman and you have put some nail varnish, that has to come off first before you do the wudu. So there must be no barrier there. If you have a tight ring which doesn't allow the water to come in, again you have to either, you know, move the ring like this or you just remove it totally. Fourthly, to wipe some of the head. So the head, we know, we said it starts from here, that's the face. This is the head all the way back up to the end of the neck, the back, beginning of the back. So as some of the ulama differed, some said how much, you know, how much of the head do you wipe? Some said you have to do all, some said you have to do a third. But the Imam al-Shafi'i rahimahullah, he said, when Allah mentioned in the Quran, he said biru'usikum, he said the letter ba here actually refers to some of the head. So even if you just wipe some of the head, even if it's just a little part, you know, you just wiped a small part, or you just wiped a little bit of your head, then that is sufficient. That is sufficient to get the basic, because here we're talking about the basics now, the obligation. So if you just wipe some of the head, that is fine. Now the head obviously can either have hair or it might not have hair. Some people may have lost their hair. So whatever is on the head. So if there's hair, you wipe the hair. If there's the skin, you wipe the skin on the head. But it must be some of the head. And therefore, if a woman is wearing hijab, for example, and she needs to do wudu, she can, you know, as long as she can just get access to some of the head and just wipe it if she doesn't want to take all her hijab off. Or similarly, if a man is wearing a imama and he doesn't want to take it off, then at least some of the head. So he could be wiping. But we'll talk about that inshallah later on. Number 5 is to wash the feet. And to wash the feet up to and including the ankles. And again, the Prophet ﷺ warned, he said, وَيْلٌ لِلْأَعْقَابِ مِنَ النَّارِ, beware for the heels from the fire. The heels, because some people, when they do wudu and they don't wash their feet properly and they leave spots out, then that will be affected by the fire of the hellfire, be punished by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Plus your salah is not going to be correct because your wudu is not correct. So it's a really, it's a cascade of things that you want to avoid. So again, washing the feet, again, everything that must be on the feet as well. So get rid of any paint that might not be allowing the water to reach there, and it must be up to and including the ankles. So those are the 5 pillars, and then the 6th pillar is to do that in order. Those 5 pillars that we mentioned, to do in order. The intention, the face, the arms, the head, and then the feet. And we take that from the verse of the Quran because Allah mentioned those things in order. He said, wash your face, your arms, wipe your head, and then the feet. And the Prophet ﷺ in another hadith, when he was doing his Umrah or Hajj, and he started with As-Safa. He started with As-Safa when he did the sa'i between the 2 hills, Safa and Marwa. He started with As-Safa. When they asked him, why are you starting with As-Safa? He said, أَبْدَأُ بِمَا بَدَأَ بِهِ اللَّهِ. I start with that which Allah has started with, meaning in the Quran, because Allah said, إِنَّ الصَّفَا وَالْمَرْوَةَ مِنْ شَعَائِرِ اللَّهِ. So Allah mentioned As-Safa first. So the Prophet ﷺ said, I will start with that which Allah has started first. So he's saying that because Allah has mentioned it in a certain sequence with regards to Safa and Marwa, that's how I will follow my sa'i as well. And similarly with wudu, because Allah has given us a certain sequence, then we should also follow that sequence. That's why our scholar said that if you, for example, if you washed your arms first and then you came to wash your face, no, we say you have to wash your arms again, because the arms must come after the face. The head must come after the arms, and so on. So those are the 6 pillars of wudu that a person has to do to actually fulfill his wudu in that regards. So inshallah, what we're going to do now is going to stop for a break, and then after the break, if anybody has a questions, you can phone in on 0203 397 2095. But if there's no questions, we'll carry on with some recommended acts of wudu, inshallah ta'ala. So stay with us and we'll see you after the break. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to the show Purification, half of Iman, here on Star TV with me, Dr El-Hamdoon. Before the break, we were speaking about the obligatory parts of wudu, and we said there are 6, which said the intention, washing the face, washing the arms up to including elbows, wiping some of the head, and washing the feet, and doing the above in order. So that's the main thing that we have to understand about obligation of wudu. If we wanted to do just the bare minimum, we maybe just had a little bit of wudu, we don't have a lot of wudu, then if we do those and just need to do it once, then that our wudu is fine. But then there are recommended acts of wudu. There are things which is recommended for us to do so that we can get more reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and try to get the wudu perfect and perfect. Because with wudu, the Prophet ﷺ emphasized on something which is called isbagh al-wudu, which is to complete the wudu. And the more you do the good things, the things that decorate around the wudu, the better and cleaner your wudu is. And remember that when you're doing wudu, you're not just doing a physical act. Try and think about the spiritual reality of your wudu. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, when a man or a person, he washes his face, then his sins will come out of his face, until they'll come out from his eyes, his mouth, everything. So, and when he washes his arms, they will come out from underneath his nails, and so on. So when you are doing the wudu, think of it as a purification process. You are cleaning yourselves of the ma'asi, of the sins, and you are washing yourself clean as well, in addition to the physical cleanliness that comes with wudu. So we're trying to do as many good things that are relating to wudu as possible. So what are the recommended acts of wudu? We spoke a little bit about toothbrushing. So we said, again, recommended to brush your teeth at wudu. So again, it's a good, good process whenever you are going to do wudu. Toothbrush, you don't have to use toothpaste, if you short a time, whatever, just a quick brush with the tooth, that is sufficient. And even some of the scholars said, even if you've got a piece of cloth and you wrap that around your finger and just use that to wipe the teeth, then that again is sufficient. If you don't have any teeth, then wiping your gums with your finger, that will be as well sufficient to get the reward of using siwak. Secondly is to say Bismillah, to name Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, because you're doing an act of ibadah and you're doing that for the sake of Allah, so to say Bismillah or say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. As the Prophet ﷺ said, every action which does not start with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, فَهُوَ أَقْطَعْ, then it is cut off or discontinued, or so the barakah, the blessing of it is reduced. But remember, these is recommended. So if you didn't say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, your wudu is still fine. It's still great. It's okay. And also the ulama, they said that saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, similar to eating. When you are eating or drinking, you say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. If you forgot to say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim at the beginning and you remembered in the middle, then you can say Bismillahi awwalihi wa akhirih, or Bismillahi awwaluhu wa akhiruh. You can say Bismillah in the beginning and in the end, which is again to say that I forgot to say Bismillah, but I'm saying it now. So again, that can be done in wudu as well. I can hear some of you asking, well, what if I'm in the toilet and do I say Bismillah or whatever? And obviously, when you're in the toilet area, it's haram to remember the name of Allah in the toilet. So in this case, if you have your sink in the toilet, so that's where you're going to do wudu, you say Bismillah in your heart. So just think Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Think it, but don't say it, because we don't want to be saying that in the toilet area. Thirdly, it's important as well to, we said, have the intention. And sometimes the intention basically is thinking, look, I'm doing wudu. But to strengthen your thoughts or to make you focus, you can also speak the intention. You can say, I'm doing wudu. Just to make you think, like it's like thinking aloud, if you like. And the scholar said that's fine, you could do that if you wanted. Now, the first act of wudu as an obligation, we said, is washing the face. But in terms of recommended acts, it's to wash the hands. So washing the hands up to the wrist, to do that 3 times, that's a recommended act. It becomes more recommended once you've woken up from sleep, because you don't know where your hands have been when you were sleeping, as the Prophet ﷺ mentioned. So he said it's good to, before you put your hands in any bowl or you mix it with water, that you wash them 3 times. Again, to make sure that they are clean before you put them into a bowl of water. After that, it's recommended to rinse the mouth, madmada, and to do that 3 times as well. So to take some water, to put it inside your mouth, and to rinse out thoroughly inside your mouth. Again, removing any debris and also cleaning the mouth. Followed by rinsing the nose, so inhaling or taking water into the nose and then exhaling it out or sniffing it out. So washing the mouth 3 times can be done in 3 different scoops, and then followed by 3 scoops for the nose, taking the water with the right hand, taking it inside, and then using the left to exhale it out or sniff it out. Or it can be done all together with 3 scoops, so taking the water, some for the mouth, and then following it up with the nose, rinsing, and then taking the water out of the nose. So this is all acts of madmada, istinshaq. These are all things which a person is recommended to do. And also to be, to exaggerate, or to do it extensively. Even when you come to washing the nose, be extensive, but on one condition or one scenario, don't do that. And that's when the Prophet ﷺ said, وَبَالِغْ فِي الْإِسْتِنْشَاقِ مَا لَمْ تَكُنْ صَائِمًا, as long as you're not fasting. So when you're fasting, don't be extreme, because as a result, the water may go down your throat, which will nullify your fast. So don't do that when you are fasting. After that, it's recommended to do each act of washing, wiping, interlacing, as we mentioned, to do that 3 times, because the Prophet ﷺ in a hadith, most of his wudu, he used to do things 3 times. But there is a hadith which narrates that he just washed things and wiped once, and there is a hadith which is tawadda'a marratain, and to do things twice, and then 3 times. So 3 times is recommended as well, although to avoid doing it more than 3 times, because when you do it more than 3, you are actually going into an area which is considered extra in the deen, and we want to keep away from things which take us to extremes in the deen. Before the break, when we talked about the head, we said to wipe some of the head. So even if it's a little bit of the head, wiping it is fine. But the sunnah, the recommended act, is to wipe all of the head. Okay, and so this gets by wiping, wetting your hands, so washing your hands, flaking off the extra water, and then to wipe, start with the big front of the head and extending all the way back. Obviously, if you've got something on your head, to remove that, so that you're actually wiping the head as opposed to what's on your head. So that is sufficient. If you had a turban on or something and you difficult to remove it, and you wanted to wipe on the turban, then you can again. So by doing this, you're actually wiping on the head. So that's the obligation, and then you're taking over the rest as well, which means that you are actually getting some of the doing the act of sunnah as well. What we mentioned before, which is wiping some of the head, is also useful for people who have, who've just done their hair up. Sometimes or you just had a haircut, you don't want to mess your hair, you've had gel, and you just want to wipe some of the head. So again, even if you just wiped a little bit of the head, that will suffice if you don't want to mess up your hair. I know some of the men, they spend a lot of money on their hair, and they don't want to mess their hairstyle up. So that is a nice concession that the Sharia has given you there. So wiping the head, and then because the ears are considered a separate limb, if you like, a separate entity, then you use some new water, some fresh water to wipe the ears. So you've wiped your head. I know some people then go on and just wipe their ears, but no, get some fresh water and then use that to wipe your ears. So going into the inside and then on the outside there. So that will actually help you to do that act. But remember, wiping the ears is extra. It's a sunnah. It's not obligatory. So if you didn't wipe the ears, the wudu is still correct. To interlace the fingers is also part of the sunnah, getting right in between the fingers, and especially for the toes, and to use the left hand small finger to get in between for the toes is also recommended. Succession is a recommended act as well, which means that you do things continuously. You don't break up the wudu. So you've washed your face, somebody knocks on the door, you go to open the door or answer the door, and then you go back to your wudu. If you just carried on by saying, okay, I've washed my face, I'll just go on and wash my arms, that's fine. Your wudu is still sound, because we said succession is not a pillar, it's not an obligation of wudu, but it's recommended. So here what you would do is you would start the face again, to make sure that you're doing wudu in one go, if you like, not allowing the limb to dry before moving to the next one. Starting with the right, where there is two limbs, so for example with the arms or the feet, to start with the right, because the Prophet ﷺ كان يحب التيمن في أموره كلها. He used to love, the Prophet ﷺ used to love starting with the right in his affairs. So he would start with the right hand, starting with the right foot, and so on. Also, it is recommended to increase beyond the limitations of the face. So to go down beyond the limitation of the face and beyond the limitations of the elbows. You could go up to here and also above the ankles. And this goes back to the saying of the Prophet ﷺ when he said, in one occasion he said, وَدَدْتُ لَوْ أَنِّي رَأَيْتُ إِخْوَانِي. I wish I would have met my ikhwan, my brothers. So they said, the companions said, "Oh, Ya Messenger of Allah, are we not your brothers?" He said, "Antum ashabi, you're my companions, but my ikhwan, my brothers, are those who will come later. They have not met me. I wish to have seen them." So the Sahaba said, "How will you know them, O Messenger of Allah?" He said, "I will know them because they will come on the Day of Judgment, غُرًّا مُحَجَّلِينَ. They will come with areas of brightness on their limbs from the effect of wudu." And the Arabs, they have horses, and sometimes you get a certain type of horse, which may be a black horse or a brown horse, but it has a white streak on its face, or its legs have whiteness. So this is what they call غُرًّا مُحَجَّلِينَ. So similarly, the Prophet ﷺ said, is those people who do wudu, they will also come with that because of the effect of the wudu. And then the hadith says, فَمَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ أَنْ يُطِيلَ غُرَّتَهُ فَلْيَفْعَلْ. Whoever is able to extend his brightness, then let him do so. Now, the narrator of the hadith is Abu Hurairah, and some of the people of hadith said that this sentence, whoever is able to extend his area of brightness, then let him do so, some of them said that this is the saying of Abu Hurairah. Others say, no, this is the saying of the Prophet ﷺ. Abu Hurairah is just narrating what the Prophet said. So anyway, whether it's the saying of the Prophet or the saying of Abu Hurairah, the meaning is correct, and which is to increase the amount of wudu, to increase the ghurm, because in another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, تَبْلُغُ الْحِلْيَةُ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِ مَا يَبْلُغُهُ الْوُضُوء أو حَيْثُ يَبْلُغُهُ الْوُضُوء. That the jewelry that the believer would be given on the Day of Judgment in Jannah will extend to wherever the wudu extends. So the more your wudu extends, the more jewelry you will be given on that day. The next one is to avoid aid in pouring. It's recommended that when you do wudu, do it by yourself. Don't get somebody else to help you, unless you can't and you need help, then that's fine. But if you are fine, you don't need the help, then don't use help, because this is an act of ibadah, it's best to do it by yourself. Also avoid shaking off water and wiping the water if you can, because again, wudu is an act of ibadah, it's an act of barakah, it's a blessing. So try and keep it as long, the wetness, the longer you keep it is better. Obviously, if you're in a cold country and you're afraid that, you know, keeping your face wet might actually make you ill, or you might be in a hot country and having wet limbs might make you all sticky or whatever, then that's fine. Remember, these are just recommended. We're just saying what is the best thing to do. So you don't have to do that if you can't. If you have a ring, we said you should allow the water to actually reach the bottom of the actual skin. So that is either done by moving the ring like this or by taking the ring off. But if the ring doesn't move, and it's very tight, and you have to allow the water to reach the skin of the hand. When you start with washing the head, you're starting from here and then going all the way back to here. And we're starting with your arms, you're starting from here and washing all the way down this way. So that's recommended, to get the water and to let it wipe downwards. And similarly for the feet, to start with the toes. If somebody else is pouring the water for you, then rather than them pouring this way, that you get them to pour from here and to go downwards. It's also recommended to rub the limbs, rub again to get the cleanliness. Make sure you are wiping to wipe the inside of the eyes. That's recommended, to get into there, into wiping inside the eyes. If you are in a place outside and you have a choice of which way you face, then again recommended to face the Qibla, because the Qibla is the most honorable of directions to face towards the Mecca, Bayt al-Haram. It's also recommended to place the container that you're using wudu on the right side if you have room there. The water that you use for wudu should not be less than what's known as a mud, because again the hadith of Prophet ﷺ is that he never used to do less than a mud. A mud is basically this much. You know, if you spread your arms out like this, that volume is a mud, which present day volume is just over half a liter. So you shouldn't be doing wudu with less than half a liter, because that's what the Prophet ﷺ used to do. If you do it more, that's fine, but again, don't waste water, which we'll talk about later on, inshallah. It's recommended that one doesn't speak during wudu. So don't speak during wudu, because again, it's an act of ibadah. Unless you need to do that, then you do that. And to end the wudu, it's recommended to make dua, which is to say, أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم اجعلني من التوابين واجعلني من المتطهرين واجعلني من عبادك الصالحين. This dua is recommended to say, which is, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, the one, He has no partner. I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His messenger and His slave. O Allah, make me of those who repent to You, make me of those who seek Your purification, and make me of those who are Your righteous slave. Glory is to Allah. Subhanakallah bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. So this is the kind of du'as that you make at the end of the wudu. You get so much reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we're going to end there inshallah ta'ala, because what we've done today was we covered the obligatory parts of wudu. We've talked about the recommended acts of wudu. We talked about toothbrushing at the beginning as well. And inshallah next time we'll be able to build on that and talk about some of the disliked acts of wudu and also some of the conditions. And step by step we have a better picture of purification, inshallah. So join us next week, Wednesday at 7 o'clock for the show Purification is Half of Iman. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.